Well, this is where you can really see the tragedy of Yemen. There's ward after ward here of severely malnourished children. Nowhere in the world are more people at risk of starvation. I was here in Sana'a 2 years ago, and it's really shocking to come back and see how much worse things are now. Motib is 2.5 years old, a victim of Yemen's growing hunger. In the bed across the way, doctors show us another 2-year-old called Bsebb. It's hard to look. His grandmother, Nadia, shares his torment. She's malnourished herself. Bsebb was born into the poorest nation in the Arab world, but war has pushed Yemen to the brink. And now the currency has collapsed. Food prices have doubled in a month. Dr. Najla, who is trained in Liverpool, says only peace will save Yemen's children.
The final solution for our problem is to stop the war. After that, everything will be okay.
Do you have any hope of that?
Myself, no. We have no ventilators for them.
Dr. Najla has been displaced by the war 3 times. She keeps coming to work, though salaries haven't been paid in years. The United Nations is warning that if the war continues, famine could engulf Yemen in the next 3 months.
I think many of us felt, as we went into the 21st century, that it was unthinkable that we could see a famine like we saw in Ethiopia, that we saw in Bengal, that we saw in parts of the Soviet Union. That was just unacceptable. Many of us had confidence that that would never happen again, and yet the reality is that in Yemen that is precisely what we are looking at. We predict that we could be looking at 12 to 13 million innocent civilians who are at risk of dying from the lack of food.
I mean, do you think we should be ashamed?
Yes, there's no question. We should be ashamed, and we should, every day that we wake up, renew our commitment to do everything possible to help the people that are suffering and in the conflict.
And those who escape starvation may not escape airstrikes by the Saudi-led coalition. Fuad lived through one 2 weeks ago, only just. He has lost one leg and may lose both arms. I was at a clinic, he says, in the city of Hodeidah when I was hit. He wants us to hear his story, but is unable to say much more. Medical staff tell us Fuad is a nurse himself. He and his colleagues were hit trying to save others. They heard airplanes above them, says Mohammed Asimi, but they didn't think they would be targeted. They were treating victims of other airstrikes. 5 people were rescued, but he's the only one who survived. In the market nearby, a bitter harvest for Yemen, food that many here can no longer afford. They are trapped between the Houthi forces who control the capital and the Saudi-led coalition, which bombs it, caught in a civil war which has become a regional power struggle. People here feel abandoned and wonder why the world has let them suffer for so long. Our message to the international community and the European countries is to look at our situation, this man says. It's getting worse and worse. What have we done wrong to deserve to be besieged? What crime have we committed? Yemen has been called the Forgotten War, but more than 3 years on, many here say it is not forgotten. It is ignored. Orla Guerin, BBC News, Sana'a.